very impressive, and it's impressive how vulnerable people can be because they have to compete at the highest stage, and sometimes, somehow, some way, they manage to, excel and overcome all the odds. We're fortunate to have a trio of speakers coming up, and I'd like to introduce my friend Denis McDonough. He shows you a few things about playing in high-stakes environments, whether he was in the Situation Room with the NSA or the West Wing of the White House. He's one of two chiefs of staff of presidents who served out a 4-year term. So if you think about that in the history of our great country, there have only been, two people who survived 4 years, and probably one of the most difficult jobs you can imagine. But he did it because I think he sort of understood how to deal with complexity and how to deal with, and understood the consequential challenges every day in that job. He gained a reputation of being really calm under pressure, clear-eyed leader, and a deep commitment to service. Later in the Biden administration, he served as Secretary of the Veteran Affairs, where he spent time bringing those same qualities to bear on those who served our country. Denis has a reputation of leading with integrity and service with purpose, and he did it without much fanfare. He did it quietly, and he did it with what I would call a lot of humility. But he shows us what leadership looks like. Let's please welcome Denis to the stage. And oh, by the way, I must share that Denis and I did play football at the same university, and they went back in the archives and they caught a couple of his highlights. He's an all-conference safety, so we may have a short video here to share with you. You can see it here, Denis. He had dark hair then. Wasn't known for his balance. Well, the defensive tackle outran him on that. I don't know if you saw that. Good spin, though. That was pretty impressive.
High formation, Ronenberg and Lentz wide left. Keenan in the throw, fires it off the near side.
Any event, welcome Denis McDonough. I had to shorten it down a little bit. But alongside Denis, Mehdi Alhassani was one of the colleagues he worked with in the NSA. And, when you work in that environment, everything is, you have to be absolutely precise. The consequences are significant. And when you do a great job, it's often unforeseen in the public eye. In those roles, he was a leader and a fantastic colleague to his teammates. After serving in the NSA, he came out here to California and joined Palantir. Many of you may know of Palantir as a phenomenal company here in Palo Alto, where he's been really one of the true leaders in helping navigate this very, very complex world where they're bringing the combination of data, AI, and other applications to solve some of our most complex problems. Sort of on a personal note, he and I share some deep and maybe irrational passion for everything Boston sports. We hate everything New York sports. And so whether it's national security, artificial intelligence, or what the Patriots are going to do at the QB position, his insights are sharp, his opinions are strong, and his loyalty is unwavering. Mehdi, welcome to the Campbell Trophy Summit. Alongside these individuals was a fellow named Keenan Reynolds. And so he had somewhat of a fascinating collegiate career at the Naval Academy. he is in the record books for scoring 88 touchdowns, the number 88, not 8.8, 88 touchdowns as a rushing quarterback, most ever who played in the game of college football. Can you fathom that? But it wasn't that really, led him on and off the field. He was someone recognized for character, and he was awarded the very prestigious Sullivan Award. It's given to the top male amateur athlete in the country across all sports. So that's for character, integrity, leadership. He's one person that's defined it in many, many ways. He spent 3 years in the NFL, then went to work as a naval officer, and then joined Palantir to work with these folks solving some of our greatest problems. There is one fact, and I'm probably, our colleague Terry Baguette from West Point isn't going to like to hear this, but he was the only quarterback to beat Army 4 years in a row in the history of Navy football. And not only that, he's one of only 4 numbers that ever been retired at the Naval Academy. And some of the names like Staubach and Bellino and Napoleon McCullum are the others. So he's a very distinguished guest, and we're really thrilled to have a phenomenal scholar, athlete, and leader join us today. Keenan, thank you. I might add, I was going to share his highlight video, but it's about 15 minutes long, and so we don't have quite enough bandwidth in the system up top. So thank you.
Awesome, Mark. Thanks so much. You dug deep on those highlights. I think you got every single one that I had. So I used to say I led our team in pass knockdowns. Some people will consider that a dropped interception, but it's all definitional. It's been a great, day and a half already. Let me just give a quick shout out to Tate Meir, 42 strong, remarkable high school football player who was killed in a school shooting in Oxford, but one of his coaches is here, and like all of you, talk about being authentic leaders. He keeps his number on his wrist as an authentic leader, somebody remembering the impact that player had on the field, but the impact that player had on his community, and that impact that player continues to have on him. So it's just awesome. Second thing I want to say is Mark, I gather, keeps scrubbing out of the bios that he himself was a great football player. He just acknowledged it here for the first time I've heard all weekend. National champ at St. John's, 1976. But for us Johnnies, more importantly, he sealed the homecoming victory against the dreaded St. Thomas Tommies in 1977 with an interception. So, Mark, thank you for protecting our anti-St. Thomas bona fides. Look, we want to get into a specific topic with you guys today, and we're going to just leave as much time as we can at the end. Mark asked for 15 minutes. We're going to try to make that 2x. We're going to try to make that 30 minutes to hear from you. But we want to discuss a particular topic, and I introduce it in this way. The best book I read in 2022 was by, I think, the best football author out there, a guy named Buzz Bissinger. And if you've seen Friday Night Lights, the TV show, or Friday Night Lights, the movie, you know Buzz Bissinger's work because he wrote the book in 1988, Friday Night Lights. He's a columnist for Philadelphia newspapers. He wrote the story about this Marine football game on Guadalcanal on Christmas Eve 1944 between two Marine regiments, the 5th and the 29th, who counted among their members 5 college football team captains, 3 college football All-Americans, and 16 future NFL players. It's astounding numbers. Remember what Guadalcanal was, right? It was on the eve of one of the most consequential battles in the Pacific, brutal battles, island to island. fought by those Marines, those sailors. Those guys had just liberated Guadalcanal, and they're getting bored. And when Marines are bored, trouble starts. So they lined up a football game. Thousands of Marines watched those two regiments face off on Christmas Eve. It ended in a 0-0 tie. They called it 3 hours of joy in the middle of war misery. Those guys went on to liberate Okinawa. Went on to win the war in the Pacific. Greatest generation. But there's something about the fact that there's that many college football players in those units. And that's what Buzz wanted to get to the bottom of in this book. Sure, the Navy thought there was something particular about football players that led to being good sailors. Discipline, strength, strategy. Maybe love, like Steve Young just talked about, love for one another. But that's what we want to talk to you about today, which is there is something about college football players and public service. At a time, as Brad said, where we need leaders who can lead in a time of division. Right? So we want to just use our time with you today to just reflect a little bit about something we hope you're considering in the myriad, the multiplicity of opportunities you have, which is public service. So we have two great guys to do that with today. You heard the amazing statistics about Keenan, right? He had a menu of choices. He chose service in the United States Navy. Mehdi Alhassani, unbelievable strategist, unbelievably hardworking character, committed man of faith. He too had, after leaving the White House, after having helped seal an historic presidential campaign, had a multiplicity of choices too. And he chose, as Keenan subsequently did, to go to work for one of the most innovative national security, defense, and intelligence companies on the planet. So these are two guys who chose public service. So that's what we want to talk to you about. Keenan, opening comments from you?
Well, I just want to say, between your intro and then listening to Steve in the back, man, this is like, I'm in the worst spot ever. Like, I don't understand like how I'm going to be able to follow you guys, but I mean, just listening to you, listening to Steve, like I'm learning things, I'm internalizing things. I really appreciated some of his vulnerability and the way he kind of opened up about his experience, and I can relate on many levels across the stack, right? Not just his time playing and being a backup quarterback, but also his time in transition. And you know, I've been through that transition, kind of coming out of a world where I knew everything I knew was everything I thought I was, everything I grew up and wanted to dream and be. I had it done, and now I'm like, okay, I got to move on to the next thing, and I had nowhere to go. And it just subsequently also happened like right around COVID. So it's like this massive kind of huge issue in the world. I'm kind of staring the rest of my life in the face and trying to figure out like, who am I going to be? I got a kid my first kid was on the way. So that was like a really tough time for me to try to like really sort things out and figure things out. But I'm really happy to be here and be around you all. And, I'm really excited to dive into, just some of the things that have been helpful for me as I've transitioned. For those that don't know, like, went to Naval Academy, as I said, but after graduating, I did commission in the reserves, and my commitment was 8 years in the reserve, so if you want to go play. Got drafted, so I show up, I'm showing up, ready to play. I'd been successful everywhere I'd gone. Started as a freshman in high school, started as a freshman in college. Get to the NFL, I'm changing positions. Now I'm getting smacked in the face. What are you going to do? You're around people that have been doing this their whole life, and here you are trying to come in and transition at the highest level with some of the best, most talented people in the world. It took me a while, but I got it together and got to a place where I really felt good about my ability and playing, and I thought, hey, this might be it. Like, I might have my chance to actually get on the field and contribute. But it didn't work out. And like I said, hit COVID, and now I'm like, all right, I got a kid on the way. What am I going to do the rest of my life? And then, so I think that the decisions that I was able to kind of make and think about during that time really set me on the path to get to where I'm at today, working with Mehdi, working at Palantir, and some of the places I've been able to go and the things that I've been able to do.
Awesome. Keenan, thanks. Mehdi, opening comments.
Well, first, Dennis, thank you again for getting me involved here. When Dennis first asked me to speak, he didn't give me a lot of details. He was just like, oh, I'm speaking at this conference that's happening as college football players. If you want to come speak with me. I was like, oh, yeah, sure. I didn't realize it was the Bill Campbell Trophy Summit, and I actually had $1 Trillion Coach sitting on my desk for a long time, and this is my excuse to actually read it and really enjoying it so far. So thank you again to the organizers. And yeah, I mean, similar to Keenan, I mean, I thought Steve Young was absolutely amazing, and so much of what he said resonated with me. I have a little bit of a unique background. I'm the son, my brother and I are children of immigrants from Iraq, and one of the most important things about us growing up is our parents never let us forget how lucky we were to be born here. And we basically won the lottery being born in America, and the juxtaposition of what our lives could have been versus what our lives were was very frontal. And that kind of motivated me to, one, knowing how lucky I am to work hard. That's where a lot of my motivation comes from, but that's also what got me interested in national security from an early age. And much to my parents' chagrin, I went to school in D.C. Because I wanted to understand national security and government, and I want to make that part of my career. And then, maybe one small story that's like a lesson that I learned was my first job working for the president. I had no connections to him. Everybody wanted to, get a job there, and so I started asking a bunch of friends, do you all have any connections? I'm trying to get a job here, and I got nothing. And then one friend said, well, I have a friend who's an intern. You could try talking to them. I talked to them. The intern was like, I'm just an intern here. I can't really help you. But I saw the email address was first initial, last name was the email pattern. So, so the senior staff almost had the same email pattern. And I started blitzing a cover letter and resume. And of the 20 that I sent, I got like 3 responses. 2 of them were thanks but no thanks. One of them gave me an interview. And that's how I ended up getting my first job working for the president. So sometimes you got a little extra hustle to get in the door. But the nice thing about that is, it's people say like baseball is one of the few things in life that if you only go 1 for 3, you're really good. And getting your first break in the job is you only need to get 1 above 0. So yeah,
1's enough. So I want to kind of go right there, Mehdi, on my first question for you, which is, you're working for this company, you and Keenan now. I read one story in the last couple of days that said Palantir's stock value has increased 1,000% in the last 3 years. You've been there. 3 years ago is when Keenan got there, so we'll give him credit for that. But you've been there for 10 years. That's 10 years of meteoric rise. You're the leader for internal ops there. That means you're looking constantly for talent. And you're looking for talent in the most competitive industry in the country. Tell us about that talent search, what you're looking for, what Palantir's looking for. And then as you listen to guys like Steve or Brad or Mark, Keenan, talk about their experience, what is it about that allows you to get the human capital that you need to continue to thrive?
Well, one day I'll say it's been 13, because Dennis nobody said that. Dennis was my boss when I worked in government, to be clear. It's been almost 13 years since I left and came to Palantir in November. And I'll say this maybe to start with. When I first got to Palantir, this has been true up until recently. To get hired at Palantir, you had to either interview with a founder or get your hiring packet approved by a founder. And when I first got there, I thought, how are we going to scale? How are we going to hire enough people if you got to have this bottleneck? But that's how protective the founders were of our people and our culture. And I actually think it's one of the most important things that makes the company who we are, because everything is a waterfall from people and culture. Everything comes from that. And I would say that, at least to start with, there's two really important things that we look for that I think is what has made our recruiting effective. One, we have a philosophy of spike skills. So similar to college football, similar to football, if you're the 360-pound lineman, you don't need to throw the ball 50 yards, right? That's not your role there. And similar to how we think about the company, we look for people with spike skills, that it's something you are a 10 out of 10 in. And it's okay if you're a 2 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10 in a bunch of other facets, but there's something that you are world-class in, and that's going to be your kind of way you contribute to the company. And so that's one of the things that we look for. And the second thing is kind of belief. That do you really believe in the company and you believe what we're trying to do? A guy I hired last year, I wasn't 100% sure about him, but like half the reason why I hired him is he had like one line when I was interviewing him. He said, I like my job now, but Palantir is the future of defense, and I want to be part of the future. And he said it with like a lot of conviction when he said that to me. And I knew that he had like real belief in the company. And I think that's important because I'm going to say this in a less articulate way than Steve said it, but when he talked about getting to that level of irrational, that's where like a lot of the magic happens when you're irrational. You can't get there if you don't have like strong belief. I work. I try my best. I work 7 days a week. I get up at 5 in the morning on the weekends to do emails before my kids get up. I'm on planes left and right. I will do whatever it takes for the company because I have that kind of conviction in what we're doing and the missions that we support. I think those are the two biggest things that really distinguish our hiring.
Awesome. Keenan, Brad Smith said the first challenge he gave us is we got to get better at doing hard things. We got to get better at doing hard things. You just heard Mehdi, getting up at 5 on Saturday, your 1 day to sleep in, is a hard thing. But here you are, your freshman year, to you that was your plebe season, right? So you have plebe summer, reputed to be one of the hardest things to do in a summer. You go straight from plebe summer to camp. And in that camp, you become starting quarterback for Navy. Tell us about that. What was the secret to do those hard things?
Wow, you're going to take me down that path again, huh? The plebe summer path. So I remember getting recruited, deciding like I want to go to the Service Academy, I want to go to Navy. At the time, there was a documentary that I think Starz was doing, or Showtime, about the Army-Navy game. And they were following around a plebe from plebe summer all the way through the season to just get their perspective on what is it like to be a plebe at the Naval Academy. And so the type of person I am, I like to be as prepared as possible for any and all scenarios. So I remember like studying that it was like maybe a 15-minute clip of the entire documentary of plebe summer and how that particular plebe they were chronicling like felt about going there. And like literally after day one of plebe summer, he's telling his parents like, I hate this place. So fast forward to 2012, I'm walking in to Annapolis for the first time. And I remember we put up to the stadium. I'm obviously pretty nervous with my parents. You get on the bus at the stadium and they take you on campus. And then that's when you start the processing. And I just remember before I get on the bus, my dad, me and him were talking, and he looks at me and he's like, hey, this is going to be tough, but just take a look at where you are right now. Look at the stadium. He's like, this is part of the reason why you came here. you got to get through plebe summer to experience this, to really do what you love to do, which is, play ball. And so get to plebe summer, and it's exactly as advertised. First day, I too told my parents, I hate this place, I want to leave. But then it just kept going. Wake up every day, go work out. You're going to be doing push-ups. You're going to get yelled at. You're going to be at attention for 12 out of 24 hours a day. You're going to be jogging everywhere. And once you just accept that reality and know that this is the necessary grind, the necessary effort to get to where you want to go, you just wake up every day and keep doing it. And then at some point, it just gets like numb. You just almost robotic. And then when I got to training camp, I'd spent the entire spring of my senior season like bulking up. Like I'm like, hey, I'm not a big guy. I need to get heavier. This is an option offense. I got to be able to take hits, carry the ball 30, 40 times a game. So I got to like the heaviest I'd ever been as I went to plebe summer. Like I was feeling good. And then I came out of plebe summer like 175. So I'm walking into camp. Like 5'10", 175. Like how am I going to take all these hits? But I think just like, again, I just kind of got back into the mode of, I know what I need to do. I know where I need to go. Anything that happens along the way is just necessary. It's a necessary sacrifice to get to where I want to go. And I think of that whole experience as just like a great filter, right? Like it really separates the wheat from the chaff. It really separates, like, do you really want to be and do what you say you want to do and who you say you want to be? And it's a real test. And so as I go through life, these things always happen, right? Like, so being an adult, being a father, having, 3 kids, being a husband, there are like so many moments where I get back to that, where it's like, do you want to be who you say you want to be? Do you want to do what you say you want to do? Here comes the test. How do you lock in those moments? How do you adjust to the hurdles that are inevitably going to come? And so I think plebe summer is just a way, it was like an early kind of art, like foundational building for me. And then like I just keep hitting that pattern. No matter where I go, no matter what I'm trying to do, I'm gonna hit that pattern in some shape, form, or fashion. And I think drawing on that experience just helps me continue to press forward day in and day out.
The question, the follow-up question to Steve was an amazing question on victimization. Did those feelings about being victimized cross your screen in that plebe summer? Or did that just
100%?
Yeah.
That was probably one of the moments where I really felt like I really resonated with what Steve said about like changing the mindset of victimization. Obviously, you're gonna woe is me when you're getting yelled at, but again, at some point you just have to like make a decision and like, what do you want to do? And so, but then you get through that. Like I get out of plebe summer, and now you walk into fall camp as a true freshman. They had a guy who was going to be the starter. So I was at the bottom of the depth chart, and it was like, all right. They had a sophomore, they had a junior guy who were going to be a starter, and now here I am as a freshman, along with other freshmen coming in who are at the prep school. So they had all the context of like being in the military, about running the offense. They were like ahead in that regard. So I walk in, bottom of the depth chart. So again, you come back to the same reality of like, are you going to be a victim, or are you going to go do what you say? Like I told the coaches, I'm going to start. Like I'm going to start as a freshman. My mom told Coach Jasper, I'll never forget, sitting in our living room, she's like, he's going to start as a freshman. So they had that irrational belief in me, and they were like, yeah, okay, lady, like, we'll see. And then, I had that irrational belief in myself. So when I get to those moments of like facing kind of the wall of like, you got like 3 or 4 people you got to go through to even see it, to even like sniff the field, to even have a chance to play. It's like, all right, like this is what it takes to go where I say I want to go. And then it's just, all right, I'm just put my head down and like put the blinders on and go get after it.
It's awesome. Well, so let me just say this. I started by like lionizing the Marines. Here we got a sailor up here. I gather we got at least one soldier in the audience. And let me just say this is Keenan broke our son's heart 4 years in a row because I've been taking Teddy to the Army-Navy game since he's born, and he's always pulled for Army. For 4 years in a row, you broke his heart. So I don't want anybody up here thinking that I'm just a patsy for the Navy. okay? Listen, one more quick story before we hear from you guys on questions. But I was saying last night to a couple of attendees, by the way, just remember what Brad said when he opened his remarks, right? You're the best of the best. That's not you saying that about yourself. That's him saying it objectively about what he knows about you. So don't forget that. It's not a mistake that you're in this room. Okay? But I was saying last night is every year about this time, maybe a little bit later, about another 3 weeks or so, I said, I begin having the same dream I've had for the last 33 years, which is camp's opening, and the dream is I'm on that field at Dayton, University of Dayton. It's national semifinals, which we lost twice, when I was a sophomore and when I was a senior. And the coach is calling for me to get back on the field, and I'm like, wait a minute, the game's not over. I thought we lost. And it's the best feeling. You think, oh my God, we can go win this thing. By the way, when I tripped, that was the first Dayton game. Okay, it's the end of the first half. We were down 7-0. 7-0. Had I returned that, it would have been a tie game, okay? We lost 12-7. So that was a brutal choke. But the point of the dream is, obviously, all of a sudden I'm getting ready to go on the field, I can't get my helmet, or sometimes I can't find my spikes. So it's elusive. But every spring I have a different experience because I get an email from the former CIA director on May 1st. And I'm reminded of this night, a Sunday night. It's about 10:15, and I call Kari, my wife, she's here with me. And I said, hey, you might want to wake up the kids and watch the news. And she's like, okay, why? I said, well, you'll see why I've been so tense and such a jackass for the last 6 months. So she wrestles up the kids. The kids at the time are, 10, 7, and 4. Puts them in front of the TV, but nothing happens. So she sends the kids back to bed. She's like, well, Dennis thought he was working on something important, but maybe it is important to him, but nobody seems to to care. So, but of course, we were slow getting the speech written, right? And the speech was that our guys tracked down and killed, brought to justice, after 10 long years, Osama bin Laden. And I remember two things about that. 5 months of intensive planning when I was running that team in the National Security Council with the Counterterrorism Homeland Security Advisor. I remember the teams presented the initial CONOPS, as we called it, concept of operations, to the president. The president said, okay, if it goes badly, what are you going to do? Meaning, if you can't get out. They said, well, our plan is to not fight our way out, make sure that the diplomats can get us out. We had spent all of 2010 in a fight with the Pakistanis about getting guys out. The president said, that's not going to be how this plays out. He said, I want to see the next CONOPS is going to be how you guys will fight your way out. The diplomats aren't going to get you out of this one. The second thing I remember about it is inevitably somebody asks, especially when they see that picture, what were you thinking? And aside from saying more Hail Marys than I've said in a long time, I was thinking one thing. Talk about being the best of the best. I was just thinking to myself, I wish the country could see what I see right now. We go through these periods where as a country we worry that we can't do hard things, we can't do big things. And here we watched it. This was a hard thing, a big thing, a life or death thing. And our guys did it. No plan survives first contact, as they say. So one of the choppers goes down. No problem for our guys. They had planned for that. Another chopper brought it in, took care of the one that went down. We do hard things, right? Because we, as Brad challenged us, we constantly train to do hard things. We do hard things well because we do them together. I'm not one of those guys who thinks that there's not a truth. I think there is. Just might not be that we all have all of it. So just like when you're in that huddle, everybody does their part, you get the whole truth. You get the right answer, right? That's what you guys have been doing your whole lives, right? What we want to ask you to do is consider doing that for Uncle Sam, because this whole experiment doesn't work without you. Just like those Marines wouldn't have liberated those islands without one another, without the big Navy backup, without the intel from the Army units that have been in the region. This country can't do it without you guys. You are the best of the best. That's what we need. That's what Uncle Sam needs now more than ever. So, eager to hear your questions. Over to you guys.
There's some microphones here as well.
You got one right here in the front.
You go next. Thank you. My name's Alex Perella, North Central College. I actually work in the GovCon space, so just wanted to say appreciate you all being here. I think we have a pretty solid group here in public sector, DMV.
Awesome.
So yeah, I appreciate you being here. My question is, so I've kind of two parts. First for you, Dennis. Football is an area, sports in general is one of those things where you can have the biggest career and you have the structure, you know what a first down is and that's good, you know what a touchdown is and that's good, and then it's over. That structure's gone, the immediate success is gone. For you specifically, Dennis, how did you go from that, having no structure, to creating the structure needed to operate the White House? And then for you guys, my question is, you are dealing with massive amounts of information. You have to decide what is true. You have to decide what matters. And then you have to make decisions, quality decisions based on that information. So if you could give us a little bit of, your method or your process from going to figuring out the right information to listen to, and then how, making high quality decisions based on that.
Awesome. So, I'm a big structure guy. I still try to build in structure into my week. So every Thursday morning, I get together with 4 of my closest friends in my neighborhood for coffee. It's just a moment of fellowship for me, right? I need that. It's an opportunity every week. Kari wants a readout. I say it's not, no readouts. This is all, classified business. So I want to structure into my life those same kind of things that we had. We did film sessions on Mondays, right? But what those film sessions are, the reason the guys were so unbelievable in Pakistan is they'd been doing operations like that for 20 years by that time, for 15 years of war, every night throughout Iraq, throughout Afghanistan. The operation is one thing. The even more important thing is the after action. All your military buddies, all you military guys in here, the after action review, the AARs, is an unbelievably important management tool, leadership tool, self-improvement tool, right? So what's the AAR that you're building into your life, right? And who's the kind of person that you're going to sit down with and do your film session with, so that they hold you to account the way held each other to account in film session, the way the coach held you to account in film session, right? So one way I replace the structure is with new structure. Second way is I was very deliberate with the White House team and they knew me. They knew I was a jock. It's one of the reasons I have every confidence. That's why the president chose me to be his chief. I didn't know anything about, I knew the difference between Medicare and Medicaid, but that was it. Right? Which is probably why I screwed up healthcare.gov when we rolled it out, but I also told him, look, I'm taller than Rahm, I'm better looking than him, and I got all my fingers, okay? So, but he knew I was a jock, and I structured our day that way, right? I structured my day personally that way. I did my cardio on the way to work. I biked to work, I ran to work, right? And it was great doing that with my detail, because talk about creating, camaraderie with a detail. The detail lead, the first detail, the first year was at Ball State, tight end, same year, class 92. He's like 3 inches taller than me, 40 pounds heavier, and way stronger, because we didn't have mandatory weightlifting at St. John, so I took that opportunity. Used to be running up the hills. I'd say, Stu, seems like we're going faster up the hill. He says, yeah, that's right, Chief. I said, well, listen, man, aren't I the boss? Let's slow down. He's like, no, we got to get to the top of the hill faster. Got to get this thing over with, right? That's like surrounding yourself with guys like that, men and women like that, is awesome. We had we call our morning meeting, morning huddle, right? Called a wrap up with the president, the after action. In fact, I copied my high school coach who used to take his practice plan and put it in the back of his belt, when he's talking to you throughout the practice. I'm sure you all had coaches who did that. A couple times I go back to the office and I try to hand that paper or that file off to my staff to have them action all the stuff in it. They said, no, we saw where that was. You can take care of that one from now on? Okay. So all those, you said first down. I mean, just think about it, right? We're going on offense, right? The best defense is a good offense. You see this every day. Read the papers this morning. It's all football language. And that's purposeful. Meaning it's so important and it's so evocative that everybody else has taken it. Right? We're going to cover down on that issue, right? This is an all-out blitz, right? That's the language used in the White House. That's the way we ran the White House. And the last thing is, I made clear that we are a team. That's the number one structure. I talk to my teammates all the time about that. What do they miss? More than anything, they miss the team, right? So those are the structures you got to build. But, you heard Brad talk about it. You'll hear everybody talk about it throughout the day, which is how do you build and nurture that team so people are candid with one another, honest with one another, and you can get the best out of that team. I say all the time, the best way to do that is make people think, make your team think that you care about them. And the best way to make them think that you care about them is care about them. Know their families, know what's going on in their life, know what they need from you. You be that structure for your team, right? So I think we're getting the hook now. I hope that answers we had hoped to save more time for questions for you guys, but I hope we got to that one a little bit.
Hey, let's give them a round of applause and